Hello, everyone. I'm happy to have you here on one of our several OFY webinars. Today's webinar is going to be a very special one. If you can hear us, if you can see us, just type in the comments where you are joining us from. Let's see you are here with us. Just one or two comments. So that we are sure. We are live on LinkedIn. We are live on YouTube, and we are live on Instagram. Mwanga, I'm happy to have you here. How is Zambia? I trust Zambia is fine. In a moment, we'll be starting. This webinar is brought to you by Opportunities for Youth. We are a youth opportunities platform where we make opportunities available for youth all over the world. And today's webinar will be zoning in on LinkedIn. And we have a special guest with us who I'll introduce very, very soon. Do we have any more? I'm sure others are live. They've just not commented. Anyway, Dinh-Long, how are you doing?
I'm doing more than awesome. Very happy to be here, Isaac. Very nice to meet you. And I've been seeing so many comments already on the LinkedIn, on the YouTube, and Instagram. So yeah, it's going to be a great webinar. Very, very excited to be here.
Yeah, maybe it will be good for you to introduce yourself in a better way. What you do, what are you about, so that our audience will know.
For sure. Yes, definitely. Thank you, Isaac, for the opportunity. So once again, hi, everyone. My name is Dinh-Long. It means Temple of the Dragon in Vietnamese. And I've been working on youth engagement with UNDP. So it stands for United Nations Development Program. So I work for the Asia Pacific office. So we are covering the Asia Pacific region. So it's around 30 countries, from Iran to the Pacific Islands to Mongolia to the Maldives. So all of these beautiful countries. And I think I will explain a bit why am I speaking about LinkedIn today. So many of our youth programs are about youth empowerment, youth engagement, so supporting young people to take action for the SDGs. And as you know, something that we really like to say is there are so many ways to take action for the SDGs, so many ways for young people to connect with their power of action. So for me, that's the definition of empowerment. You can be, an advocate, you can find a green job, an impact job, you can be an entrepreneur. So I think what we try to do is to have a lot of programs that support young people to do that. And one of our programs is called Skill Our Future. So I think it's quite self-explanatory, but we have a lot of programs, a lot of trainings, a lot of activities on training young people to be ready for the future, meaning that we train and we have a lot of learning materials. We have a learning management system with different modules, materials, and workshops on digital skills, on green skills, on soft skills, and on employability skills. All of the skills that are very, very important right now and will become more and more important in the future. I think you take any future of work report, I will always say that these 4 pillars of skills will be, or if not, are already the most in-demand skills. So that's why we try to leverage on that and focus on that, because all these skills will make young people more employable. And then, of course, the employability part is very important. And today we'll focus on LinkedIn. I think we receive a lot of different questions, I think all the time, about LinkedIn, how to get noticed, how to stand out. Thank you again, everyone who registered, and you already shared some of the questions you wanted to address. We had a look. It's very, very interesting. Maybe one last thing before I give it back to you, Isaac, is for everyone listening, I know you have already shared some of your thoughts on the registration form, but maybe if you can share on the chat, what are you looking for to learn today? What are maybe one piece of advice that you would like to hear? What are you expecting? What is one question that you would like Isaac to address and to ask me? So yes, please share on the chat whether you are joining from LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. We'll love to read even more comments about what you want to learn to make sure that today's webinar is the most relevant for you.
Great. And for this webinar, I'd like to refer to you as DL. I know you like that. So
Yes,
uh,
okay.
let's do DL. And of course, Isaac is okay for me. So I'd just like to start with this question. From your perspective, what is LinkedIn about? Let's start from that point.
Yeah, so let's start with that. I like starting broad and then we can go more into the specifics. So I think LinkedIn evolved a lot, but I would say maybe I start with a very specific example and I will expand. But I would say every time, I think most of the people I speak with who hire other people, the first reaction or the first reflex we have when we see a new name in the application forms is I will check the person on LinkedIn. I will check whether the person has an existing LinkedIn account. So that's my first reflex because I know it will give me a quick overview of the candidate. So I think simply saying LinkedIn is an employability platform connecting candidates with employers. It's much more than that. It's a platform that can allow any person, not necessarily candidates, but to really build your professional branding. I think branding for me, it's an important word here. And it's something that we like to ask people. I think we all know about the concept of branding when it comes to a business, a company, a fashion brand. But what is professional branding? Professional branding is basically what people say about you when you are not there, which is related to your career. What are maybe 2, 3, 4 keywords that they say about you? Maybe when people think about me, they might think of, I don't know, like youth empowerment, youth engagement, 21st century skills, skills development, movers program. So what are the key topics, key areas that people think about when they think about you, and how can you, be involved in crafting your own professional branding? How can you be, intentional in making people think about these specific words when they think about you? And I think for me, yeah, LinkedIn is a great platform to search for jobs, to build your professional branding, to build your network, to meet a lot of new people that you can collaborate with on professional projects, on your future career, and in the end, to support one another. So yeah, a platform where you can do a lot of things related to your employability, in the end, to boost and accelerate your career growth.
Yeah. So that makes LinkedIn a very important platform for young people. Most of our audience and our followers on opportunities for youth are students and those who have just been out of school looking for other opportunities. So I think LinkedIn is a very good platform for them to start. So I would want us to really start from the basics. All right. So how does a person start? I mean, just look at it from the perspective of a student or someone who is just out of school who is relatively new to LinkedIn. I'm sure a lot of people already have LinkedIn accounts, like myself, but since we are looking at making the best of LinkedIn for career development, where do we start from, and how? What's the platform to start from, or the springboard to start from?
Yes, very good question. So let's zoom out a little bit, and definitely I think I started as well to have a LinkedIn account while I was a student, and back then I didn't really know why should I be there, or what is it, or I think it was even a bit weird to have a LinkedIn account because I didn't really know what to put there, or I have nothing to put there. I mean, it's what I thought, right, when I was still a student, and I wasn't sure what would be the benefit for me. And so I think let's start with that. Having a LinkedIn profile, even if you might not see the direct benefit right now, can really help accelerate your career and your branding. So that's let's say first thing to be conscious of, because it will allow you to think. I will say broaden your horizons. Maybe when we are students, we hang out only with the students in our community, in our city. but LinkedIn can really accelerate and connect us with job opportunities which might be outside of our current network, allow us to meet people which we might not meet if we stay with our existing network and community, and also see what's happening out there, right? So for me, that's an immediate thing to think when we are students is, okay, it will, broaden our horizon, open a lot of new doors. How to get started? I would say the first thing is to, let's say, put the shoes of someone who will look at your profile, at your LinkedIn profile. For me, that's always the best way. And the second is, okay, who do you want? Who do you target? Who would you like? What is your audience of your profile? Meaning, like, who would you like people to look at your own LinkedIn profile? But I would say the very basic are definitely. Starting because it can be very overwhelming, right? You open a LinkedIn account and there's like so many features, so many buttons everywhere. I would say the basic is definitely starting with just your profile picture, the cover picture, your headline, and starting to put, one work experience, one volunteering experience, a bit of your about, so your bio, because I think as a recruiter or as a potential person you want to network with, the first thing that we will look at is whether the profile is complete, so to say. But definitely, if you receive a message, if you receive a request, if you receive anything from someone who doesn't have a profile picture, for example, it doesn't build trust. So the first thing is to build trust and show that, okay, at least the initial components are there. Maybe I can go quickly through the basic component and share some general tips. But definitely, profile picture, cover picture is a must. You can just put a normal picture, a headshot, so that we can see how you look like. But then the first thing that we will look at, or the first thing that I personally look at in a candidate, in a volunteer, is the headline. And many times, I feel like people don't really spend so much time thinking about the headline. So the headline is the one sentence that summarizes who you are, that summarizes your profile. And it's a very important sentence because we spoke about professional branding just before. The 2-3 words that you want people to think about when they think about you. Well, that can be summarized in your headline. So really spend time on your headline. And for me, a headline is a headline. It's a sentence that summarizes who you are. And for me, maybe the first, not a mistake, but this one thing that I see a lot is many people only put their job title in the headline. But you are much more than your job title. Always remember that. You are not only your job title. I think for me, the headline is really the opportunity to share what is your life mission. And again, of course, we work on SDGs, we work on creating impact. So our life mission is very important. But for me, it should really be what are your career aspirations? What do you want to achieve throughout your professional career? Which impact do you want to have? Because the headline is very important because it will attract like-minded people. It will attract people who are interested to network and connect with you. And for me, a simple formula that I like to share for the headline is an action verb, sharing a bit about your life purpose. For example, my headline is supporting young people to achieve greater impact. And I think by reading that, you understand that I work with young people, trying to support them to have a better positive impact in their community. But I don't say anything about my job title because in the end, regardless of my job title, I will always have the same purpose. I will always keep the same headline, basically. And then, of course, I have a few words that describe who I am, what kind of words I want people to think about. So in my headline, there is community builder, facilitator, podcast host. So again, you can try it out. You can play around with your headline, but that's really the first thing after the picture. And it's the first thing that people see in the preview as well, when people are looking for different connections. So spend time on your headline. Many, many times, it will be the trigger, whether or not someone wants to click on your profile or not, is whether you have an interesting or attractive headline. So use it to show who you are, use it so that it can enhance the branding that you want to create, and keep in mind that it's the first thing that people will look at. And then
Wow.
maybe a quick word on the about section. I would say this is a bit like the bio, but write it in the way that also make people want to read it. I think, what you are working on, what are your hobbies, why should people contact you? I would say maybe this one is the most important. Many times I see in about sections that it's only about you, but what could be interesting if you switch the narrative and you mention how you can support other people and why should people contact you. You give a very concrete call to action. And then you just want people to have a reason to contact you. And you want to be clear on what kind of people you want to connect with. So really think about what is your ask and how you can support people. I'll come back to this, it's important, but yeah, I'm sure you have so many questions, Isaac, as of now.
Yeah, I do. And when you were answering this, I actually just opened your LinkedIn profile and I was just trying to look at it. So I was about to go to the about section and you started touching on it. I see that it's a bit long at your end. I don't know why that word went into yours. So maybe since you started talking about the about section, maybe you just for some 30 seconds, just tell us about it.
Yeah, for me personally, the about section is again, so people come to your profile because of the headline, and then they stay because of your about section, right? So for me, it's okay, what hook can you put there so that people are interested to know more about you? And again, you should not aim to have everyone to stay in your profile, but you should aim to attract the relevant people that you want to connect with, related to your purpose, related to your career aspirations, related to the people you want to connect with. And for me, I'm just sharing a bit about what challenges, what kind of things I'm working about. So for example, I think the first three lines are questions which are that I'm working on 3 challenges: how to unleash people's power of action and reduce the intention action gap, how to ensure equal access to opportunities regardless of someone's background, and how to transition to a low carbon society and preserve our environment in a spirit of social justice. So I set the tone, I just share this is what I'm working on. And most of the time, if people also work on that, they stay and they maybe they want to connect, but at least they continue. If people don't work on that, really they're not really interested to connect with me, and which is fine. It's also a way for you to curate your network. And then I share a bit more personal things about my hobbies. And then, yeah, of course, the call to action. Yeah, I'm always interested to speak with people who work on the similar challenges or to work also on youth engagement, youth empowerment. And again, many times I don't know, I browse some profiles and I'm not sure if I should connect with them because there's no clear request for support or there's no clear, have a chat with me because this or that. So again, yeah, re-emphasize this on add why should people contact you?
Okay. All right. So you mentioned network and you also mentioned connection. So I want to ask a question around that since that really in relation to career development. On LinkedIn, we have a connect button there. And we know LinkedIn, we try to build our network there. Some questions have come in about whether there are groups to join, like you see on other social media handles, how to connect and things around that. Can you touch on that? How do we connect? How do we build a network for career development?
Thank you. And I think it comes back to one point that we saw a lot on the registration form is many people are wondering, how can I grow my network and how can I reach out to industry experts or people I don't know without feeling like I'm, harassing them or without feeling too annoying. So this is a very good point. And it might be something that, for sure something that I thought about a lot and I also felt when I was younger. Also, I think the more you have experience, the more you understand maybe what are your expertise and how you can add value to people. But then definitely, so how to grow your network. I've seen a question as well on who should I follow on LinkedIn? Who should I connect with on LinkedIn? So it's a very, very good question. So I think for me, it's all related to, again, your purpose in life your career aspirations. So broadly, what do you would like to do? What kind of jobs are you looking for? Where do you see yourself in 5, 10 years? Which are very, very difficult questions. And it's not a question you can answer like this overnight. It's a question that you ask yourself over and over, and that you will keep asking yourself even in 10 years, which is fine. But it's good to have some sort of direction on where you want to go. So this is a bit outside of LinkedIn, but it's very important to have some sort of direction of, yes, what branding do you want to build for yourself? What kind of job, what kind of career you want to have? If you don't know, then LinkedIn is also a good tool to meet people and understand what they do. But yeah, I would think the first thing is a bit on that self-awareness of what you would like to do in general in your career and what kind of purpose you want to have. And then people you want to connect with, I would say there's different categories. The first one is, if we speak about the basics and getting started on LinkedIn, is always start with the people that you already know. And we always have classmates, we always have met people in an event, we have friends, we have family, we have teachers, lecturers, our previous boss, our previous colleagues, people we work with on a climate project, people from the same organization. So actually, when we think about it, there's a lot of people that we know, and it's always good to start with people that you already know and start adding them as connection. So that's the first layer. And it's a good way, even if you didn't speak with them for a long time, it's a good way to reconnect with them, see what they are up to, how you can support them. The second, I would say, is related to, again, who would you like to meet? What kind of skill would you like to learn? What kind of expert would you like to get inspired from? I think one exercise which we like to give is, okay, let's say now your next assignment, your next homework after this webinar is you add 10 new people on LinkedIn. You send a connection request. And you need to think about, okay, who are the 10 people that I want to add and why? It might be future potential employer, industry expert on something, someone who's doing your dream job and you want to learn more about what they do, someone who's doing something similar in another country and you want to learn what they do, someone who's joined the school of your dreams. Whatever it might be, try to think about a list of 10 people that you think can add value to your career, can teach you something. But then I would say, and tackling the question on how can I add someone in a connection without feeling that I'm annoying them, I would say one concept here, which is very important, is the concept of giving first. For me, the key question, the key mindset to have when networking on LinkedIn, in real life, everywhere, is how can I help you? The how can I help you mindset is very, very important. Actually, when I met Isaac the first time, he asked me, how can I help you? So he should also give a webinar on networking. But yeah, always think about how can you help someone else. And you might think, if you are 20-year-old, a student, speaking to someone who's 40 years old, way more experience, that you have nothing to add value. But it's not true. We can always listen. We can always try to understand people's need. And then, there's always something that we can do. And the minimum is to ask them, is there anything I can do to support you? If they say no, it's fine, but at least, you show your willingness to support. And of course, it should be genuine. Don't fake it. It's very, very easy to see if someone is faking it. But I think for me, that's the basic when connecting with new people is, okay, thinking how you can support them, and which means really looking at their profile, looking in details. I think for me, when you start on LinkedIn, you have, let's say, two schools of thoughts. Either you send the same message to 100 people and you hope that someone is answering you. But I don't encourage this approach because no one likes to receive a general message which is not tailored. Instead, maybe you focus on the list of 10 people that you identify. You do your research, you do your homework, you really look at their profile, try to understand what they care about, what they work with, And maybe I'll share a personal example because I also do receive a lot of messages on LinkedIn and by email. And I would say, to be very honest, 95% are like copy paste or not at all tailored to my profile. And it's a lot on how can I get a job at UNDP. But there's not even a hi or how are you or you know. So I think the first thing is always craft a message which is friendly. Craft a message that you would like to receive yourself. It's always about putting yourself in the other person's shoes. But really think and try it out with your friends, send a message and see what are the reaction.
Okay.
So really tailor your message to the profile. And I think the other 5% of message I receive are very tailored. They mention very specific things from my professional career. And I think something maybe to give out, not a secret, but something that, for example, touches my heart, let's say, when I receive it is, now I started, for example, I started a personal project and I started my own podcast. And it's everywhere on my LinkedIn, right? It's on my bio, it's on my profile, it's quite obvious. And in the 5% who tailor the message, they always mention that maybe they listened to one episode of my podcast and they really enjoyed it. And if people do that, I know that they spend time doing the research. I know that they really crafted a message which is tailored to me. And I always answer, of course. I will always take time to someone who takes time to reach out. So I think for me, again, tailor your message, really think about who you want to meet and what is the reason. And it should be connected with your purpose.
Okay.
Send a nice message with clear, a clear message that mentions why you reach out to them and how could they help you, but always in exchange suggest that you can also support them if there is anything that you can do for them.
Thank you so much. I would want us to go into quite a number of questions here. I don't know how you can keep the answers short, but there are a lot of questions here. And I think this is a very important question. This person is asking, how can I showcase my projects, research, or achievement in a way that attracts engagement and professional opportunities? And quite linked to that is, I mean, posts on LinkedIn. I mean, you definitely on LinkedIn, you'll be posting. So I want you to answer this question, and maybe by extension, also talk about maybe how your posts should be on LinkedIn and that. So maybe two questions in one.
Yes, perfect. So for me, there's two levels. The first one is definitely there is a section where you can showcase that on your profile directly, personal project or research papers, volunteering, work experience, wherever it fits the most. And then it's also about how you showcase this on your profile. So, it's always about being concise, showcasing what was your role in this specific project and what was the outcome of this project or paper. And you can always include links for more information, but something again which is attractive. And you can never share everything that you want because time is limited. People don't have all the time in the world, but always try to share in a way that spark interest and people want to know more. So that's the first thing. And the second is definitely is what you mentioned is showcasing your projects or papers can be done by posting on LinkedIn. And there's so many ways to post on LinkedIn. Maybe I'll just go through a few tips, advice. Let me take the example of, I think many of our audience, including myself, we join a lot of, workshops, webinars, conferences, where we have a certificate of participation. And for me, for example, one reflex should be, okay, I have a certificate of participation because I went to this project, I volunteered. So it's good to showcase it to other people. And again, I think I've seen in the question that many people maybe might feel a bit awkward or shy to share about personal achievements because they feel like people might see them as bragging on LinkedIn, which is a question that comes back a lot and a lot. I would say write in a way that makes you comfortable. I think bragging is also, if you feel that your post is bragging, maybe it's not written the way that makes you comfortable. So find a way. I think we can always share about our achievements in a way that makes us comfortable, and see that as a way to build your professional branding as well, because people will know that, okay, you joined this SDG workshop, it must mean that you are interested in taking action for the SDGs. So that's one thing. Coming back to sharing the certificate, there's different levels. I think you can share your certificate, just sharing you went to this event, and that's it. This is okay, it's better than nothing, but again, you should always think about, okay, how can my post add value to my audience? Is your audience only seeing your certificate and nothing else? Does it add value to them? No. I think your friends, people who know you, will be happy for you. But people who don't know you, why would they engage? Why would they care about the fact that you went to this or this conference? So a concrete tip, for example, for me is always when you go to a conference and you want to share a certificate, is not only you share about yourself, your achievement, which is good, but always try to think about how can your post add value to your network, to the LinkedIn global community. It can be done by sharing 2, 3, 4 takeaways about this conference, because this will be the part that people care about. So for me, again, put yourself in the shoes of people who will read your post. How can your post add value to them? That's very, very
Okay.
important.
Right. All right. Thank you very much. I would want to us to deal with this question before we come back to other things, because I don't want us to miss this question. It's a very important question. What are some of the mistakes professionals, especially young professionals, make on LinkedIn that you would want us to be wary of? You would want us to be careful about?
Yeah. So I think, yeah, a bit related to everything we have shared, but the first thing maybe on the basics is maybe if you know that your profile is incomplete, if there's no profile picture, there's no cover picture, there's no headline, it's things that are very, very easy to fix. So go for it. So I think that's the first thing, because it's the first thing that people will notice. And it already gives, let's say, a negative impression. So that's the first thing. The second thing is related to, I would say, sending connection requests, sending messages, and coming across maybe too, let's say, not in the best way towards the person who receives the message. So I think for me, again, for example, don't send a copy paste to 100 different people, because people will know, people will notice, and they will not necessarily appreciate it. So for me, yeah, that's probably the biggest mistake, is to send messages to people thinking that you are entitled for an answer, while people actually, if they don't want to answer, it's fine. They don't need to answer. So for me, biggest mistake is, yeah, really stay humble when you want to connect with people. Always try to add value to people. And the third mistake is, again, is not putting ourselves in the shoes of the other person who will see our post, who will see our profile. And maybe we just share things that don't add so much value to the audience.
Okay.
And maybe the fourth thing is a bit related to new features from LinkedIn, or I would say it's an overuse of AI. I think I personally recommend everyone to use AI to write, but maybe more as giving feedback, as reviewing your text and giving suggestions, but maybe not for you to copy paste the whole answer from ChatGPT and use it as a LinkedIn post, because it's very, very obvious. And again, you might come across as someone who just share AI content on LinkedIn, which might not be so much positive.
Sure. Thank you. So before we go to the next question, in sending your connection request, would you advise to add a message to that connection request, or you just send a connection request? I just want us to be a bit practical there.
I would say in general, yes, always add a note of why you are connecting, how why? I mean, being specific and how you can add value. Of course, you are very limited with a number of characters, so be very straightforward, but still polite and still humble.
Okay, so you started this webinar by talking about how, as a recruiter, someone applies and the first thing you just do is quickly check on LinkedIn and all of that. My question here is that how is LinkedIn important to recruiters, and what exactly are they looking out for?
Yeah, very, very good question. So I would say LinkedIn is your open profile, so everyone can check it, right? So I think it's important it was another question from the form, but to update it regularly and making sure it's as aligned as possible with your current career aspirations, current jobs that you are doing or looking for, or job that you want to have in the future. I think for me, when I'm stalking someone on LinkedIn, which is, let's use the word, what I'm looking for is, let's say in the context of, let's say a job application or maybe a volunteer application or program application, is just as a first glance to understand quickly about what is the work, I mean, what is the advocacy of this person, what has this person work on, what SDGs is this person working on, does this person have a lot of experience or not? And I think in general, what recruiters are looking for is, again, it's not the perfect LinkedIn account. It's more the alignment between what they are looking for and the profile of the person. So let's say we are recruiting for, I don't know, a youth engagement and climate change position. We'll look briefly on the LinkedIn profile whether the person has relevant experience either in youth engagement, in climate change, whether it's work experience or volunteering, or whether the person actually speak about it in the bio and the headline. It's fine not to have any volunteer or professional experience, but if it's something that you want to work on, if you want to work on the environment or climate sector, well, speak about it on your LinkedIn profile. And if you don't have experience yet, it's fine. You can speak about it on your headline. You can speak about it on your about section. You can show different online courses that you have done, but you should always, again, tailor your profile to what kind of career you want to have. And it's, again, what we will look at, the alignment and whether or not the profile matches with what we are looking for.
Wow, thank you very much. So there's this question I think we need to look into. That's a question of whether LinkedIn Premium is relevant, is it important, is it a good idea to get it, and is it better than the free one?
I mean, I would say yes, it's better in a sense. It's supposed to be better, right?
Yeah.
I would say the LinkedIn non-premium is more than enough for many of us. And also based on the responses, there was a question, how familiar are you with LinkedIn from 1 to 5? More than half are under 3. So I'm not at all familiar with LinkedIn. So I would not encourage you to already start with a premium. I will encourage you first to, use the free version as much as you can and get familiar with everything and use it. And there's already so much that you can do without the premium. So that's in general. Then I would say, okay, what can the premium unlock for you? I think the premium is also interesting but again, it really depends on what are your objectives in terms of job seeking, in terms of maybe you're already working and you're not looking for a job, but maybe to broaden your network. I think maybe key features of LinkedIn Premium include, you can message anyone, even if you don't have them in your connection. So it can be interesting depending on your job position, right? And the second is you also have access to LinkedIn Learning. So there's a lot of online courses on pretty much any topic that exists. So it can be nice as well. And then, yeah, I think your profile is also supercharged with different features, with the AI feature. You can see who saw your profile, for example. So I think it really depends on it's case by case. But I will say if you are not familiar yet, start with getting familiar with free LinkedIn account.
Okay, so let's come back to you. Okay, how often would you be posting on LinkedIn? And yeah, maybe let's start with that question. How often do you post, and how often would you advise someone to be posting on LinkedIn?
Yeah. So first, I open LinkedIn a lot, maybe too much. So yeah, just to check a bit the news from the network, connect with people, and of course to look at different people's profiles. And also to message people as well. I think there's a few partners or connections that I actually exclusively speak to on LinkedIn. So that's the first thing. I would say, to be 100% honest, I don't post as much as I would like to. I think I've set a target for myself, which is to post once a week. And again, I would say it's might be different for everyone. I would say once a week can be a good frequency to keep being active and then to keep having engagement with other people. And then, of course, it's not only about posting, it's about engaging with different people. So I spoke about the messages, but you can also comment on other people's posts. Basically, all the activities, right, on LinkedIn. So not only posting, but everything should be considered. I would say maximum can be to post every day, but again, this requires some discipline. And again, it might not fit everyone's goals on LinkedIn. But I would say in general, avoid posting, too many times in a day. It might not be so efficient. But again, yeah, I do encourage general activities. So, messaging people, sending connection requests, engaging on other people's posts and posting, because I think the way LinkedIn works is very interesting because it's an open algorithm where LinkedIn put a lot of emphasis on second degree, third degree, fourth degree connection so that you can broaden your network. And the only way to tap into that and to be maybe connected with them is to engage on different LinkedIn activities.
All right. So you just mentioned algorithm, and before I maybe ask a question around that, I want you to touch on this. Is it relevant to, I mean, to have the open to work badge? I mean, we are thinking of people who want, you may be looking for a job. This young person may be looking for a job and all of this. So using that question, that's a question that came from one of our viewers, whether it's relevant to have the open to work badge. And I want you to use the opportunity to also maybe extend it to how to find a job on LinkedIn.
Yes, very good question. So yes, very simply, if you are looking for a job, then do put the open to work badge, and the opposite as well. If you are hiring, do put the hiring badge, because it will be seen right in the preview. So it's one way to show potential recruiters or your networks that you are looking for a job. And again, it's not always only about targeting the recruiters. It can be targeting your other connections who know someone who is hiring, right? So it's always the strength of the second, third, fourth degree connection on LinkedIn, the strength of the referral. Maybe someone that you have met 5 years ago will be the one who recommends you at the friend's company. You never know. That's why the network is very important. To be honest, you never know what's going to happen when you connect with someone. That's why it's always important to keep an open mind, to add value to people, because we want to support people that add value to our lives. So it's always important to emphasize that. But again, it's important to not request or expect like very short-term or immediate results, because when it comes to networking, it's a very long-term game. You never know what's going to happen. Many connections I met, we had good connection. Nothing very concrete happened, which is fine. But professional collaboration maybe happen 5, 6, 7 years later, right? So you never know what will happen with your connection. So that's the first thing. But yeah, so yes to the badges. And then how to find jobs on LinkedIn. So the first thing, definitely be active on LinkedIn. That's one way people will notice you. have the updated profile, because if you apply to a job outside of LinkedIn, there is a big chance that people might look at your LinkedIn profile anyway. And they might not only look at your profile, they might look at what are your recent posts, right? So it's also important because they will see you are active. They will see that, okay, they posted about climate change, about SDGs. So in general, being active on the platform. And then, yes, there is very concretely, there is a job search function, right, on LinkedIn. So I think it's, if you're actively looking for a job, is going there, browsing jobs, setting alerts. If you are looking for something very specific, but you cannot find it yet. But yeah, in general, being active on LinkedIn, intentionally, proactively searching for jobs using the job search tool. But then again, many jobs might not be found by applying, because the job might not be on LinkedIn directly, or people might hire, but they didn't publish yet. Many jobs might come from referrals. Many jobs might come from people you know, or second, third connections. So very important to keep your network active.
All right. So, like I said, thanks for answering the question. But like I said, you mentioned algorithm. I know it's a very broad thing, but could you just let us know, as maybe as a young person using LinkedIn, how do you make the best of the algorithm? Maybe how it works, and maybe how we can make the best of it. We have just about 10 minutes to go, so if you can make that as brief as possible. There's a question for uh, those over 40 years. I want us to touch on. We seem to be focusing too much on young people, but we still have some audience who are, over 40, and I want us to touch on their question. So, how do I make the best of the algorithm as a young person?
For sure. So the important thing is that what's important on LinkedIn is the engagement, right? And the engagement is the likes, but it's most of all the comments, the discussion that happens from a post, and the value that can be added. It's hard to concretely see if you add value to people, but most of the time, if you see repost, if you see like, if you see comments, then it's a way to calculate the engagement. So I think, how can you craft and write posts that foster engagement, that foster people to comment? For example, if you have an expertise in something, if you have a toolkit, one thing that many people do, and maybe you have seen it, is comment this or that, and I will send it to you by private message. So this can be one way. Many ways is also asking a question in your post, so to encourage comments, which is another way which I like doing as well, generating conversations through your comments. So for me, yeah, it's about generating, fostering engagement, and the concrete thing is the conversations, people engaging and leaving comments, reposting, spending time reading your post.
Okay, thank you. So, I would read this question directly. So, this person says that, is there any chance to people above 40 to get remote job on LinkedIn? Could you give us any advice about it? So, how people above 40, I mean older people, can get jobs on LinkedIn, and maybe you could touch on remote jobs too with that question. So go ahead, please.
Yes, for sure. Of course. I think for me, LinkedIn is good for young people, of course, but it's good for everyone. In the end, there's 1 billion users on the platform. And the 1 billion are not only young students, young professionals. There's everywhere, every age range, all of the age range. So definitely, I think I would say everything we discuss also apply to any age, with the difference that someone who is 40 years old might have more self-awareness of what they want to do, of what expertise they have, what skill they have, and they might have more experience. So they might also look at adding value to the younger generation, or to other people in the field who are looking for the expertise. So I think positioning yourself as not necessarily an expert, but as someone who adds value to support people, who provides mentorship, is a good way to engage on LinkedIn, is a good way to attract more connections and grow your network. And in the end, that's what can help you bridge job opportunities because you are more noticed on the platform. You are more attractive on the platform when you position yourself as someone who adds value. And yeah, and then of course on LinkedIn, there's all type of jobs, local jobs, remote jobs. So, for sure you can look for remote jobs on the platform as well. And also, I would say if you are specifically looking for remote jobs, back to your second question, well, mention about it on your profile, right? Don't keep it a surprise. Be proactive about it. Be proactive and do say that you are looking for remote jobs on your profile so that people know as well. Someone might offer a remote job that is right up your alley, but they don't know you are looking for one if you don't speak about it. So also speak about it, mention about it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I would, before we conclude, maybe this will be my last but one question, which actually isn't a question. I'm sure throughout this session, we've touched on very important areas, but there may be an area I've not yet asked about that you think we should put our minds to. What would you say that should be?
Let's say, like the priority to think about, right, after the webinar.
No, it could be, but I'm just saying maybe some of the questions didn't touch on something. So, is there something we need to put our minds to as young people in relation to LinkedIn? Maybe we didn't ask that question, and you think it's something we should put our minds to. That's what I'm asking.
Now, I would say is to, again, just a quick summary, but to keep being active and to always think about how we can add value to people rather than just extract as much value as we can from someone. How can we genuinely want to support them? And I think from that, many things are being unlocked. But I understand that when we are young professional, young student, we might not realize how can we support people. But just the fact of asking, you're already halfway.
Great, great, great. Thank you so much. It's been a very fruitful session. By way of summary, we focused on LinkedIn for career development or career growth, and we had Dinh-Long here with us, and he has pointed to a number of things that we need to put our minds to, understanding that LinkedIn is a very important part of your branding, and the way you brand yourself, even on LinkedIn, is important. If maybe you forgot or you joined late, he has told us that the assignment for us today is to add 10 new people on LinkedIn. I mean, add 10 new people, send connection requests to 10 new people on LinkedIn. And the best is to tailor each connection request to the person you are trying to connect to. Don't make it generic. And understand that you shouldn't just use LinkedIn as a tool just to get. It's important to have that mind of adding value to even those you think you are trying to get something from. And I think it's a very, very important thing for young people to know. So, as I summarize, I would want Dinh-Long to tell us where we can find him on various social media handles and maybe final words before we just wrap up.
Yeah, maybe three things just to wrap up. The first thing is back again to the fact of being young, and maybe sometimes we feel that we maybe cannot add value because we don't have skills or experience. Just switch this mindset. You have skill and experience that many people don't have. You just need to, yeah, be self-aware, but we are always the expert of something, maybe from our own community based on our lived experience. So do try to find this. We all have unique skills and experience. Second is based on the small homework. So yeah, really do think about 10 people that you want to connect with related to your career aspirations. If you don't know where to start with me and Isaac. If we are not connected yet, maybe send to me and Isaac a connection request. That's already two people. And just mention something specific about this webinar that you enjoy. Maybe you like one of the topic. Maybe you can say to Isaac that he's an amazing moderator. Whatever you want to share, do share something specific, and maybe share something how else we can help you. And don't forget to ask us how you can support us as well. But yeah, start with Isaac and myself. It will be a good start on your way to having 10 more very tailored connections. And the last thing is, of course, thank you for the question, Isaac. I think, as I mentioned in the very beginning, with UNDP, with the youth team of Asia Pacific, we do have a lot of programs which are on boosting young people's employability and job readiness. So I think one of my amazing colleagues has been answering and sharing comments on every platform. So you might see the link to some of our programs where you will have the opportunity to further develop some of your employability skills, digital skills, green skills, soft skills, either through live workshops in person or online, or our online courses. Everything is free, of course. And I think on top of learning, it will allow you to meet a lot of people from all across Asia Pacific, all across the world, which means even more connections, but meet like-minded people who also care about the same topics as you. And in the end, do find your community, whatever you are doing. I think when we are young, there's a lot of issues that we want to work on, and it's always better to do that with a supportive community.
Thank you so much. I am personally going to review my LinkedIn profile and everything I do on LinkedIn after this. Thank you so much. You find opportunity for you on all social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, beyond blue skies. Just reach out to us, and we have a lot of opportunities. And of course, the website is our major platform, opportunitiesforyou.org. Thank you for joining us. And Dinh-Long, thank you so much
Thank you
for
so much.
sharing insights with us. Have a blessed day wherever you are. And if it's evening where you are, have a good evening.
Have a good evening, everyone. Sending hearts.